Samantha once again. Welcome back to another video. This is another paid request, this time for Yule. And for those interested in requesting pretty much any type of videos, feel free. You just send them either directly to my PayPal or join my Patreon. Both links are down below in the info box, and I promise I'll try to get to it as soon as I can. Thank you. Thank you very much. So let's get into it. I have it paused at the beginning. Would help if I get the volume. So actually let me rewind it to the beginning, paused, 3, 2, 1, pressing play. As we have the MGM Lion, which MGM is not really a studio you hear about nowadays because they've been through a lot of financial troubles. For a while the James Bond films were the only thing keeping them afloat, and then Orion here. Orion was big for a little bit because they released RoboCop and a lot of other movies, but then when it got into the early 90s, they went into box office turmoil. That's why films like RoboCop 3 were released like 2 years after the fact, what they originally were. Then Orion came back for a little bit. I believe they released the Belko Experiment and a few others, but so I don't know if Orion is still around, but yeah. Back in the day, they released, I think, Remo Williams, The Adventure Begins, this film, along with... This is also around the time that Chuck Norris would work with Canon Films. Because before this, and of course, I gotta mention the great score by Francesco De Masi, Italian man. I did not recognize any other films he did, but the score is fantastic. The score is easily one of the best parts of the film, and I quite enjoy the movie. It might be in my top 10 Chuck Norris films because, like, Chuck Norris is a guy that, no, he's not considered the best actor, but you know what? He knew who he was. He knew what his audience happened to be. And when you look at his filmography, he has a pretty solid filmography. There's not many Chuck Norris films I downright hate. Maybe a couple of his last couple, like Forest Warrior, not a big fan of Top Dog. But when you look at his series of films, I mean, even some films are like, you know, maybe they're 2.5 or 3 out of 5 star movies, but they're still entertaining, like A Force of One and The Octagon. I just still enjoy them. They're decent or they're okay, but this is with Silent Rage, which I love, and then Forced Vengeance, which is entertaining. Those are the two films he did before this, and I believe this is actually the first film Chuck Norris had the full beard. Because before this, Chuck Norris just had the mustache look. And much more of a blonde hair. But this is definitely... This is where he started to have this look, with the beard, and not so much of the blonde. And that's... I think Chuck Norris himself has said this was a turning point in his career, and Chuck Norris is a big fan of this movie, which is why I don't understand why there's no interviews. I mean, I have a set which has the Blu-ray, but I'm showing this because it actually has a picture on it of the movie. Because the other one is like a 5-disc set which has a couple of Chuck Norris films. And yeah, at least this DVD has a picture of the movie itself. But I know this was a big inspiration for when they did Walker Texas Ranger. And Chuck Norris could not use the actual character because technically Orion and others still had the rights. And I believe the director here, Steve Carver actually sued CBS years and years later. I think the lawsuit was like for $500 million, like insane amount. Because, hey, you guys did this show for like 10 years. Steve Carver, yeah, I'm going to be honest, Steve Carver, he's an alright director. I mean, before this, he worked with Chuck Norris in the film An Eye for an Eye. He also did the Michael Dudikoff film River of Death. But he did not work much after that, and even the DVDs must be the ghost of Steve Carver, but Steve Carver's still alive. Steve Carver's like, he sensed I was going to talk bad to him, so he moved some DVDs. But I was going to say, I do think Steve Carver, he's a guy who, hey, I don't have much work, and can I get some money out of this? So that's not all the time, but a lot of times why people want to sue. And yeah, I mean, I just see it, Walker Texas Ranger being based on this, but at the same time, when you really look at it, there's not a lot similar other than, okay, it's a Texas Ranger. But the character of Walker, I don't really see as the character of this. Like, this character seems much more serious. As in, beer drinking, getting hurt, shooting. Like, Walker doesn't seem that type of character. And also, the supporting characters don't really seem similar to this at all. Like, you look at Robert Beltran. You had Noble Willingham's character and Walker Texas Ranger. Again, I think it was more than different enough, other than the fact there's a Texas Ranger. So I really don't think Steve Carver had much to stand lawsuit-wise, but I think that's why him and Chuck Norris kind of grew apart, because he's like, hey, Chuck Norris, you stole the idea. It's like, well, based on it, but Wolf McQuade and Walker Texas Ranger are still fairly different. And to be honest, I prefer Lone Wolf McQuade. Like, Walker Texas Ranger, I'm not really big on, because that's Chuck Norris's later years, and he can't do the moves as well, and then the way they filmed it, because the limited budget and times of the TV show, so Chuck Norris, to me, can't really do his best bits martial arts wise, and the way they cut it, sometimes you wonder, is this someone else? Is it a double? And then some of the storylines, you know, CBS was more wholesome. I prefer more Chuck Norris's movies. Firewalker's my favorite. I like the Missing in Action films. Invasion USA is a lot of fun. I love Silent Rage. I like Hero and the Terror because it was him trying to do a bit more of a like thriller horror, and then Silent Rage was kind of like a horror slasher. And like I said, I love Firewalker. I even like Hellbound. Now, one of the guys here who had the machine gun, that is Robert Beltran. I mentioned him earlier. As these guys are killing everybody. But yeah, Robert Beltran is the guy Chuck Norris helps, and then he becomes one of the sidekicks. You may remember the guy, he was in a movie called Eating Raoul. But I remember him more from the film Night of the Comet from the mid-'80s. You had Catherine Mary Stewart, you had Kelly Maroney, and then you had Robert Beltran. He would later find success on some of the Star Trek TV series. Yeah, that guy right there who's got his hands up. That's Robert Beltran. Again, he's much more prevalent later in the film. And again, the first time I saw him was Night of the Comet. And then I might have seen this, but again, the same area. But yeah, I always enjoyed him as an actor. Well, like I said, with Chuck Norris's career, I mean, being a martial arts guy, he kind of knew his limits. That's what it seemed with when I said a lot of his filmography is pretty solid. He would stretch a little bit like Hero and the Terror, but he kind of knew where he fit. Now, I should mention stuff with this rifle. You go on YouTube, you find plenty of memes, plenty of compilation videos where Chuck Norris has the sniper-like rifle, and he just, when he fires, it cuts to like people falling down, things exploding, or people getting shot from other movies or shows. That's used all the time now on YouTube. I'm not sure how you look for it on YouTube. It's like one of those things you always come across is like Chuck Norris shoots everything, or Chuck Norris kills everything, or like if you type that on YouTube, you'll find bits of Lone Wolf McQuade firing, and then cut to a variety of different scenes. Either again, people falling in real life, or it's all these scenes of him firing. And this is kind of a different role for Chuck because, like I said, look-wise, he has the beard. His hair color is different. It's less the blonde look. He's much more dirty. He's drinking beer. He's less of the clean-cut, crystal-clear hero, and a little bit dirty, a little bit grittier. And again, I believe it's Chuck's one of his favorite films. And then this was '83, and then a year later he had Missing in Action, which became one of his most popular films. Which Missing in Action was supposed to be the second, and then Missing in Action 2: The Beginning was supposed to be the first. They shot those films back to back, but they thought that the second film was the better movie, so they put the second film as the first movie, and the first movie as a prequel. So thus, Missing in Action 2: The Beginning. Supposed to be the first movie, but again. But that's actually my favorite Missing in Action film. I like the first one, but I like the beginning. I like the POW stuff, but yeah. I liked all the Missing in Action films. I am shocked they did not do a part 4 in the 90s. I am shocked about that. But in the 90s, Chuck Norris was slowing down. He didn't do a lot of films in the 90s. He did like The Hitman. He did Sidekicks, which is a good one. He did, what was that movie? Or Top Dog. We did some nice Chuck Norris moves, takedowns. Still pretty quick and nice usage of an Uzi. Now, I don't know how... This is Chuck Norris, man. He's able to hit all the bad guys, but doesn't hit one horse. Especially he's able to shoot in a straight line and hit people up top and on the bottom. Because it's Chuck Norris. It's fucking Chuck Norris. Bullets come out of his beard. He'll shoot... All the bullets hit the guy, none hit the horse. This is Chuck Norris. You buy it because it's Chuck Norris. It's just his superpower hidden in his beard. Which, of course, that was the thing years and years later. You had the Chuck Norris fats, where all the insane fats of Chuck Norris. He doesn't do push-ups. He's pushing the earth down. Death checks under his bed for Chuck Norris before he goes to bed. I did. You did do a whole 2-hour video just reading Chuck Norris facts. I should have printed some. But, I don't know if that's like an old hat now to do it. But, it was pretty fun. But I think for the 90s, mostly he's just like, you know what? I'm going to do this TV show. Did very successful. And then he kind of, other than Expendables 2, he kind of retired. Which is, I can understand and respect. To be honest, some of these action stars, maybe they sure learned from Chuck Norris. It's like, I think Chuck Norris realized, hey, I'm getting older. I can't do what I'm able to do. Maybe disappoint the audience. I do wish someone should do a full documentary with Chuck Norris when he's still with us. Like, sit down, go through his career, and do like a 2-hour documentary on Chuck Norris when he's still with us. Please. Why doesn't someone do that? I don't understand. Someone explain it to me. Now, some of these other actors, the guy, let's see, him being so dirty compared to everybody else. The guy at the podium of the El Paso Civic Center, who's at the microphone right now, that's R.G. Armstrong. R.G. Armstrong, you will remember him in Predator. He's, again, the guy at the podium, and now he's leaving. He's a guy in Predator at the very beginning, the very end. He's the general who gives Arnold the mission and gets Arnold with Carl Weathers. That's R.G. Armstrong. And then the guy talking now, the guy at the podium now who accepted the award, well, that scene's gone, but the guy who is friendly with Chuck Norris right here, who caught the beer, that's L.Q. Jones as Ranger Dakota Brown. He's been some stuff. What I remember him the most, he was in this film called The Edge with Anthony Hopkins. He's the older guy with the cabin and such who Anthony Hopkins talks to at the beginning of the film, and they converse about stuff. And at the very end, him and Anthony Hopkins have a moment. But like I said, it's directed by Steve Carver. And Steve Carver had done stuff. I think he did Capone in the 70s or so, which I think had an appearance with Stallone. Sylvester Stallone might be another Capone, but oh, he's gotten water. Reminds me, I'll get some water too. Right there in Texas. Makes sense, he's a Texas Ranger. That'd be pretty funny. He's a Texas Ranger, but he's in Delaware. That sounds like a bad horror movie. The Delaware Texas Ranger Massacre. Coming soon to a VOD near you. Texas Ranger that just kills anyone from Delaware. But yeah, this is R.G. Armstrong. He's been in a few other stuff too. But again, the thing I remember the most is Predator. And like I said, I mean, Chuck Norris was a guy that didn't known for martial arts. Guy's forbid break with Bruce Lee, fighting him in Way of the Dragon, also known as Return of the Dragon. You have that big fight in the Coliseum. And then he did this one really lousy movie, Slaughter in San Francisco or something. It was like some other Asian guy that they wanted to make another martial arts star, and hey, get Chuck Norris because he fought Bruce Lee. And then Chuck Norris was dubbed. It wasn't even his voice. There's a nice guy named The Flying Ninja 1. He reviewed the film, and I'm like, yeah, he pretty much summed it up. It's a piece of shit. And even Chuck Norris thought it was awful. So he's like, you know what, I want to take into my own hands. He did Breaker, which is also the film on this. I actually don't mind Breaker. A lot of people disliked it. But looking back, it's kind of fun to watch because it's different. Because it's Chuck Norris and kind of the CB radio trucker movie. And he still has some pretty decent martial arts bits. And it's just fun to see a little bit of different type of Chuck Norris film. I mean, he doesn't even have the mustache. He's clean shaven. And being a Chuck Norris fan, it was an interesting curiosity piece. I did not dislike Breaker. But I think Chuck Norris did. It's like, yeah, this isn't really for me. These trucker type of... Because that was a time when Smokey and the Bandit was a big hit. So many movies, when a film's that big of a hit, many films are going to try to rip it off. So you come out of the woodwork. Anything that's a CB radio or a truck or trucks crashing through stuff or car chases. Where Smokey and the Bandit had a lot of car chases. You also had Convoy. That was another big movie. That also might have led to some of these movies getting made. Convoy. So it might have been Convoy more than Smokey and the Bandit that created that. Because Convoy was a film directed by Sam Peckinpah. And there was a big famous song. Cross the USA, Convoy. And that was a pretty I think it was Sam Peckinpah's biggest hit. I believe. Even more than the Wild Bunch. I could be wrong on that. Of course, this is David Carradine. Rest in peace. He was on the TV show Kung Fu, which was meant for Bruce Lee. But then, it seems when you look into it, it was going to be Bruce Lee's, and then they fucked him over because he was too Asian, so they got David Carradine. It's funny, I think one of the producers said, if Bruce Lee was alive, maybe they would have offered the role to him, and it'd be like a rematch. David Carradine I like, and he does good in the role as the villain. But man, if Bruce Lee was still with us, and have Bruce Lee be the bad guy, maybe he would have said no, but maybe like, hey, you know what, Chuck? I owe you one. I'll do it. I owe you one. It's like, hey, I died for you, you die for me now. And then to see Bruce Lee as a bad guy, that would have been really interesting. That would have been really cool. Really cool. Yeah, I don't, maybe, would Bruce Lee have done it? I don't know, but again, serendipity, fate, whatever, if things with Bruce Lee worked out and he was successful, it'd be like, I don't know, 10 or maybe 10 years later, less than that, maybe it's like, okay, I'll do one for you, Chuck. That would have been cool to see. But David Carradine, I mean, he would find later success because they rebooted the Kung Fu TV series for like 4 years. And then he was in films like Kill Bill, as Bill, and never minded David Carradine. He had a bit role in Waxwork 2 Lost in Time. And what's sad about David Carradine is the way he died. Autoerotic asphyxiation. And people thought it was suicide, but no, it was because he had a certain kink, certain fetish. It went haywire, and he died because of it. I mean, when you're dead, so who cares about being embarrassed? But still, it's just one of those things you go, man, that's how... Just something that could have been rectified or fixed or, I don't know, just controlled. Just pretty sad. Steer the shit out of that guy. Hey, if you don't fire a gun and train, you might as well do it with your shirt off. Although it's weird, Robert Beltran. I'm gonna watch this guy shirtless from far away. Maybe he'll take off his pants. But no, it's to show that he's really good with a handgun. Him training. This is like what he does on his off time. Double barrel is a sawed off. Which he doesn't use his shotgun much from what I remember. At least I don't think so. I could be wrong. It's been a while since I've seen it. I don't know if he uses his shotgun a lot during the actual movie. But yeah, this is a movie why in Expendables 2 his nickname is Lone Wolf. Because Lone Wolf McQuade. Is that, I was going to say, is that Coca-Cola or is that beer that he was drinking? Definitely more cleaned up. See, I don't know why Chuck Norris does not do interviews, because you keep hearing two completely conflicting stories. Story one is they offer him these interviews, because I think there's a newer Blu-ray of Lone Wolf McQuade. I don't have it. Maybe one day. I know there's a newer Blu-ray, the Delta Force. One day I like to pick it up, but I don't know. I'm pretty tight with my money nowadays. Which is why I don't do a lot of Blu-ray updates. I'm just tight with money. But people say we offered Chuck an interview. He said no. He declined. But then Chuck will say, well, they never asked me for interviews. And I'm like, well, something's going on here. Something's not right. There's some type of miscommunication. I would assume that all these guys would have asked Chuck Norris for an interview. I have to assume that. If it was one or two, but multiple times, Invasion USA, Lone Wolf McQuade, Delta Force, all these films they got Blu-rays with features. Chuck Norris isn't on any. You can't tell me that they didn't. No one ever asked Chuck Norris. I can't buy that. I'm sorry. So maybe Chuck's like, I don't want to talk about, which I don't understand, or something else entirely. I wish I knew the answer. Now this is Dana Kimmel playing the daughter, and Dana Kimmel was in Friday the 13th Part 3. She was the lead in that. She had been in a film before called Sweet 16, which I think led her to getting Friday the 13th Part 3. And then that was before this. Just Friday the 13th Part 3 is 82, and this was 83. So she went from Friday the 13th Part 3 to this movie as Chuck Norris' daughter. And trying to think what this lady's name is. Sharon Farrell. I didn't remember that. I wrote some of the names down so I wouldn't forget. I did forget. Sharon Farrell. I don't know much about her as Molly McQuade. But I mean, it seems like a lot of people who work with Chuck, they always say the nicest things about him. but they say he's a good guy, he's a nice guy. Not many people have issues with him. Which is nice to hear. It's nice to hear. But yeah, it would be nice to hear interviews about making this film, all that other stuff. But again, I don't know. Let's do it before Chuck is gone. I mean, this is what I don't understand. Like, it would take one day, like one day, relax, have whatever to drink, we relax, we film, talk about each film, couple hours, done. It's there forever. I think for the fans, it's considered one of the better Chuck Norris films. It gets a 6.4 on IMDb, which is definitely one of the higher ratings for a Chuck Norris film. I always said after this, he was with Canon Films, and that really blew up his career. The Missing in Action films, the Delta Force, the Invasion USA. Yeah, my personal favorite is Firewalker. Because Firewalker, it's not as much action as some of Chuck's other films, but I like Chuck's demeanor. He's having fun, he's laughing, he's joking with Louis Gossett Jr. You can tell he's just having a ball, and it's also a adventure movie looking for treasure. Granted, not the budget of Indiana Jones film, but still, I'm a sucker for films where it's adventure, danger, looking for treasure. I think it's kind of a wish fulfillment. We all want to be part of a journey of that nature. And then it does, in my opinion, have one of Chuck's best action moments is the bar fight. The horse is gone apeshit. Chuck, you can't run with tight jeans like that. Now, this lady here is Barbara Carrera. The same year, she was with Sean Connery in Never Say Never Again. That's the Sean Connery film where, by that point, Sean Connery said, I'm done with James Bond. I'm not doing James Bond anymore. I will never do it. And I think he had mentioned, never will I do it. And then, when it got into the 80s, Roger Moore was being James Bond, but then there was the story that they based Thunderball, that became Thunderball. That story, someone else owned it, so they could make a James Bond film with only that story. So then another studio was able to do that without getting sued, and they offered Sean Connery a lot of money. I think his wife or girlfriend at the time mentioned, the title, well, never say never. You can never say never again because you're doing this. Although, to be honest, this is much better than that movie. Like, I like James Bond. Never Say Never Again is not one of the best. I don't even know which was better, that or Thunderball. I don't even know which I would consider the better version. But it's like Sean Connery, Dr. No, I like more. You Only Live Twice, I like more. Goldfinger, I like more. A lot of the Roger Moore films, like For Your Eyes Only, The Spy Who Loved Me, Live and Let Die, I liked more. Like the two Timothy Dalton films, Living Daylights and License to Kill. Anyway, it just goes on and on. But yeah, Never Say Never Again, I'm like, it's kind of... I would say Sean Connery was showing his age, but not really, because later on he did Outland, which is my favorite Sean Connery film. And Sean Connery did a good job in that movie, so I don't know. Next time, learn how to ride a fucking horse, lady. Bounce your ass up and down. Chuck Norris just hit him in the dick with his glove. You see that? He went like this, and it hit him. I guarantee you it hit L.Q. Jones in the balls. He probably felt that. But, didn't want to tell anybody. I know that because no matter what, if you hit someone with a glove, even playfully, and it's right in that region, you don't feel it. You don't feel something. And it won't be pleasure. It's a pain that like lasts a minute. You know, that kind of sound. Fuck is up with this bartender? Look at it. Dude, it's a different... What kind of beer is that? It's a different kind of beer. What he was drinking in the truck earlier was like a red can. Wonder what this kind of beer is. See, I don't know if that was a Coca-Cola can earlier or what. Now we have David Carradine doing an exhibition, red versus blue. What is this, like that video game show, red versus blue? Is Karate Champ the movie? Remember that NES game? Karate Champ the movie. Starred David Carradine. See, that's the I like David Carradine as an actor, but I never bought him as a martial artist. And I think that's my issue, is that David Carradine does well acting-wise in this movie. I do wish, though, you had someone with more of a physical... I mean, he does alright, to be fair. He does alright. I'm trying to think, is this guy... Okay, I thought one of these guys was, Nah, maybe not. Never mind. Give him a cigar right then and there. I apologize from time to time I clear my throat. I don't know why my throat just gets dry so quickly when I'm talking in a constant state. I think because I don't want dead air, because I think like, fuck am I watching you stare off screen for 5 minutes? But then my throat gets dry real quick, so I apologize. Everyone, like, or so many of these people got their like shirts wide open. Just like me. It's just one of those Texas things. Oh, that's a fair fight. Like, you need these guys to hold his arms for you to fight. I like how everybody's watching. There you go. Yeah, come on, tough guy. Nice. Yeah, big old fucking chop on your back. Big old flip. That's a nice move. Like that quick takedown using the guy's momentum. Fuck your glass. This is with the temptation. You think they don't fight, but we gotta save that for later. Sort of a build up to it. And the fight scene at the end is fun. I will give that. It's just, again, David Carradine is just not the guy I would choose #1 style when in terms of, oh, this is the matchup I want to see with Chuck Norris. I mean, for 1983, I guess I'm trying to think like who else I would put in that. I'd have to think about it. Because like martial arts, star-wise, there were not a whole lot in this time period. There's ones that they tried. I forget the one guy. Like there's like a bunch of like lower budget films that they try to make these guys into martial arts stars, and after the success Chuck Norris was seen, but then they didn't really add up to much. Like there was that Kill or Be Killed and Kill again, and this other guy that was in like Raw Force, and he was in, I forget what the movie is, but it's like a martial arts, the Eagle Swords. It was a martial arts guy, and they had like Donald Pleasance and Christopher Lee, and I think someone from Dr. No, and like all these James Bond actor villains. Like I forget the movie. Yeah, it's Mario, except in a blue shirt. We just passed by him. Guess he's done with plumbing. That's a nice girl with a chunky ass and a Where's Waldo t-shirt. Chunky ass is not a problem with me. This guy, definitely a biker. Pants ready to fall down. Yeah, make you eat those balls on the pool, and then you eat my balls. Yeah, get the fuck out. Ah, yes, Dana Kimmel. I think this is where like they see too much, and like the boyfriend gets killed. But yeah, around this time, I mean, I was thinking like what other people you could put in there, and it'd be tough. So maybe David Carradine works for the time frame. Like if it was much later, like if this type of film was done in '92, I mean Chuck Norris and Jean-Claude Van Damme would be interesting. Like that'd be cool, Chuck Norris and Jean-Claude Van Damme. And they did train together. There's a video where Chuck Norris is being interviewed and the other guy is Van Damme. This is like before Van Damme was famous. I forget what interview it is, but it's on YouTube somewhere. Like it's an interview, but then like you see raw footage of him training, like Van Damme's holding the bag that Chuck Norris is kicked in. You see him with an Uzi. Why are you going with a tire iron? This bad guy's kind of stupid. Because he could walk up and just shoot the girl, but he's like, nah, I'm going to just push this down the hill. Now, I mean, she could still be alive, so we're not going to check it. We're just going to leave. I guess, like, you know what, I could go up and shoot you, and that would take probably 15 seconds. Now, I'm going to push the car down and leave without checking to see if you're alive or not. So, again, not the smartest, not the brightest bad guys. But I don't know, maybe if they thought killing the girl would be too dark. Yeah, Barbara Carrera, I mean, she was in this and Never Say Never Again. Doesn't seem like she did a whole lot after this, though. And I don't know what features are on that Blu-ray. I would assume probably something with Steve Carver, maybe in commentary or something. I don't know. I think that's why I didn't get the Blu-ray, because like, well, it didn't seem like there's... It's like, you know what, I would pick it up if Chuck Norris talked about the fucking movie. If he's not, then it's like, film's already on Blu-ray, and I even, you know, when I saw the DVD of this, it looks fine. I mean, that's the thing, is some of these movies, they look fine enough on DVD. It's not like the Blade Runner 2049 or the new Avengers movie that you need pristine HD DD to see it. For some older movies, I taste it away, honestly. The more HD they get. It's like Friday the 13th. Do you really, I mean, do I really want to see that in HD? But I do have the Friday the 13th box set. It was a great gift. So I can't complain. Is this the hospital from Silent Rage? Nah. Nurse, you can't stop Chuck Norris. He has a gun. Are you crazy? Yeah, I know a lot of people made fun of the fact that Chuck Norris, he's a guy that doesn't show and express his emotions. But I think even Chuck knew that. I do think Chuck knew that. He knew his limitations. And that's why he kept accepting these kind of movies, like Missing in Action. Like, he kind of knew who he was, and he was able to stretch a little bit. Like, Firewalker, I think he does a great job in Firewalker. I think he does a really good job in Missing in Action, too. And Hero and the Terror. I truly do. I mean, I'm a fan. But I mean, like, this is like my favorite era of Chuck Norris around this time. Like, a little bit before Silent Rage, after Missing in Action, Firewalker. Like, this is my favorite era of Chuck Norris. And again, this, well, look at his filmography. There's not a lot that I would go, oh, I hate that movie. Okay, this is Leon Isaac Kennedy. Now, Leon Isaac Kennedy, I would say he was most famous for being in these films called the Penitentiary movies. There were 3 of them. I forget the director's name. I knew it was a name I could not pronounce correctly. Monacum? I can't remember. But pretty much it was Leon Isaac Kennedy's character in a prison for the big fight. And the second film, he was out of jail. Ernie Hudson was the villain. One thing leads to another. I think his girlfriend dies. He got fight again. Mr. T helps him train. And the third one, like, there's supernatural shit or some weird, like, the weird shit. But, I like Leon Isaac Kennedy. He's the FBI agent, Marcus Jackson. Looking over there, so I know the name of his character. And I think the thing, though, with him in this movie, it's nice to see him in there. It's a nice addition. But at the same time, it feels like he doesn't really have a lot to do. Like, he shows up, we're what, 40 minutes in? It's 40 minutes in, he shows up, and then it's a while before he comes back. So it's like, okay, you have this character, he pops in one scene for like 30 seconds, and then he doesn't show up for quite a bit. It's just, they don't do a lot with him or his character, and it makes you go, why was he even in the movie in the first place? It does come across like anything he does could have just been Robert Beltran's character here. Like, maybe because, hey, Leon Isaac Kennedy, they thought they would get another audience, and they just plugged that character in. I don't know. Pretty much all these big guns. Rifle with scope. Grenade launchers. Sounds like the weapons the Army had in Invasion USA. It's hard to think like what my top 5 would be, because I have to see like all of his films, like a list of it. Again, I know Firewalker is my #1 personal favorite. Top 5, that's tough. I know somewhere in the other 4, one would be Silent Rage, one would be Invasion USA, one would be Missing in Action 2: The Beginning, and then I have to think about what the other one would be. And I don't even know what ranking. Like, what would be number 2? What would be number 3? I don't know. I have to think about it. But, But maybe the first Missing in Action. Yeah, I know the Delta Force would be in my top 10. I think Hellbound and Hero and the Terror, because I'm a sucker for those two. I'm a sucker for when action heroes delve into the thriller and horror section. Oh, Robert Beltran getting some punches. It's like, not bad, man. Oh, I think does he the Chuck like tits some guy's ass here? This guy with like he like stole Mr. T's get up from the A-Team. Like you looked at his clothes, like Mr. T wore those clothes in the A-Team pilot, and like they stole Mr. T's wardrobe from the A-Team pilot, gave it to that guy. But Chuck Norris beat the fuck out of him. That's a nice little choice to have the red lighting, a little bit of mood. Well, that didn't last long. And that was an interesting little bit they added there to showcase Robert's character's superstitious, so he doesn't walk under the ladder. I just maybe showing that, you know, this character's younger, he's a bit more naive, while Norris is the more, you know, veteran of the two. All these ladies making clothes. Yeah, you know there's nothing right about this. There's a shot run by Kathy Lee Gifford. For you, they get that joke. Oh, they don't find Kathy Lee Gifford. These fucking sweatshops. God damn it. You know, it's weird, the shirt they picked for Chuck, sometimes in the lighting it looks pink. I don't know what it is. Chop the shit out of them. Knocked his ass out. Up, you see, that's why this guy gets caught. He went under the ladder. Bad luck for him. But yeah, definite credit goes to the composer. A very solid score. See, a lot of times in my reviews, if I don't mention the music, it's because the music did absolutely nothing for me emotional wise, so I completely forgot it. And in that itself, to me, is a drawback. Because to me, music is a very important part of the film. I think some directors don't realize just how important music is. Great stunt there. I mean, that's a real person being dragged behind a truck. You have a guy's feet actually gliding over the... There you go. Right on the back of that truck. Nice wide shot to show that it's swerving back and forth. A nice job there, like to actually go under that bar. Again, Steve Carver, I'll give credit. Like, some of these shots showing the wide scenes of it. Not having everything up close. There's a few shots up close, but in not having everything stuck up close. I think that works well. Of course, that old classic trait, having your hero on the hood of the car or the vehicle, that's been used a lot. I mean, it was Steven Seagal, Above the Law. Brian Bosworth is Stone Cold. Even Arnold in The Terminator, which he was the villain in that. Just showcasing that, you know, he is a good guy, so yeah, rescue him, don't let him just burn. That's one dirty ass truck. I believe that truck is what they call a Dodge Ram Charger, with some souped up because of what happens later on in the film, where he's buried. He's got to get out of it. Yeah, don't try to tip me. Uzi there for fun. This guy with the glasses looks familiar, but I cannot remember his name. But yeah, I mean, I guess to mention, while this happened, the 1980s was a prime stage for action films because the heroes were men doing manly things. Loving women, drinking beer, fucking, fighting, punching, being badasses, giving the criminals what they deserve, being over the top, being superheroes, but at the same time being almost like a realistic superhero, because it's still, by the use of stuntmen or other avenues, real people doing real stuff. And that carried over to the early 90s until you had more special effects heavy films like Independence Day, Twister, then the Star Wars prequels, Lord of the Rings, the Matrix films, and more so. And then now actual comic book superhero movies have taken precedent. Every once in a while you get films like the John Wick movies, but definitely more of... And then, there are people that want to try to do an 80s film, but they kind of don't get what makes an 80s film work. And they don't realize that an 80s film wasn't winking every 5 seconds. If they try to do an 80s film, it's like, do you get it? Do you deal with 80s? Do we deal with 80s? Like, there's an 80s thing there, and there's an 80s thing there, and there's an 80s thing there. And we can't be too serious because we'd be laughed at. So we're winking, right? It's like, you don't fucking understand what an 80s movie is because you're embarrassed. Because I think a lot of, not all, but a lot of people, they don't sincerely like the 80s. They like the 80s in an ironic way. Shut the 80s with the hair, the clothes. They laugh at it. They don't truly enjoy it. And many of these films I sincerely enjoy as, that's badass. Like here, this guy has a fucking wolf as a pet. It's fucking badass. He's buried. He revs that motherfucker out from being buried. That's badass. Instead, people use terms like cheesy, corny. They laugh at it. They laugh at the hair. They laugh at the music. If Rambo shoots his arrow back, oh, that's so old. It's cheesy. I mean, it's their opinion, so I can't hate them for their opinion. But I'm still like, come on, for fuck's sake, man. Just throwing all the fruit. Yeah, you throwing away my beer. Give me my fucking beer back. Stop taking my beer. I want my beer. Let the man have his beer. But let me have my beer. I think he throws the beer anyway. Lady, it's not your job to clean his apartment. He didn't ask you to do it. It's not your fucking job. It's not his fault. If someone came into your home and started throwing your shit away and cleaning your shit up and out, what would you feel? You'd be a bit perturbed, wouldn't you? But what the fuck? You're the one that broke into my home and stealing my shit and throwing it away. Fuck you, it's bad. Thank you? Thank you, fuck you, bye? You and your bandana, you're not, Billy Jack or John Rambo. I mean, fuck. But I mean, a lot of the stuff in the 80s were cool. Sincerely cool to me. I liked the hair. I liked the clothes. I liked the old school attributes. The action, real stunt people, effects, squibs, low explosive to make it appear you've been shot, with some food coloring stuff mixed in to look like blood, So it looks like someone got shot. It's not CGI additions. Cinematographers having to have the film look on set with the way the lights are. Not having to do it afterwards on computers so it looks filtered, so it looks fake. Because it's not how reality looks. And it makes sense if you're doing like The Matrix or it's in a computer, like movie-wise, but... And some films work for that, but not every fucking film, man. Very over-the-top music, I'll say that. Yeah, the Wolf don't like that. I don't know who the fuck wants to kiss in the mud. Well, I mean, I guess his idea is, well, we're going to have to shower later, and we can do it together. But I mean, that, by the way, that wolf, I would assume that's some kind of half-breed, or... Because I don't think you can actually train a wolf. I could be wrong, but I thought... Fuck you. I think like they add little stuff right there to keep the action going. So even though it's a teeny like 10-second bit, it still feels like you're seeing at least some stuff happen. But yeah, I think with wolves, I could be wrong. Feel free to educate me. But I don't think you can train an actual wolf. I think when they have like a wolf in a film, it's like a half-breed, or maybe there's a better term for it. I always thought this was kind of a weird, just inexplicably, you have this little guy in this very high-looking wheelchair. I don't know the actor's name. It kind of makes me go, why is this guy even in the movie? Because really, again, even at the end, he doesn't really get a comeuppance. He's pretty much just left behind because they take his helicopter. I mean, is the stuff with this guy necessary? Nah, I mean, he could easily just be talking to David Carradine. I mean, yeah, I wouldn't say this guy's really necessary. And the only unique thing, I hate to say it, is the way he looks. And he has like a revolving wall out of a 1930s mystery film. Like, all that stuff could have easily been like a phone call he had with David Carradine. But, yeah. Which I guess sounds more boring. But, I mean, like, David Carradine we haven't seen for a while now that I think about it. I mean, he's your main villain. When was the last time we saw David Carradine? And Leon Isaac Kennedy. Like, where did Leon Isaac Kennedy go? That's what I mean. Like, Leon Isaac Kennedy, he's not in the film a lot, even though they kind of... like, build him up, especially in the trailer. Like, if you watch the trailer, Leon Isaac Kennedy as Agent Jackson. It's like, well, it's been almost an hour, and he's been in, what, 30 seconds of the movie? And then David Carradine, I mean, there's the opening bit, and then there's the bit where he had the fight, exhibition fight. I think he pops up in a little bit. So would that be like the third time in an hour for your villain? Of course, they're playing with this guy, you know. They had to find a way for... Going pretty damn fast in that vehicle, though. I wonder if that's if they were speeding up the film, or if that's the vehicle going that fast on purpose. Well, I think it was going fast on purpose. It doesn't look like the other vehicles were being sped up, so yeah, they're David Carradine, showing he's the one who kills Chuck Norris' friend. Let the man do his dirty business. And yes, not as violent of a film as you think of. You don't really see a lot of blood in this movie. Yeah, because I think the bad guys are gone by the time he gets there. But yeah, I was mentioning the 80s. Like, the 80s were a great time for action films. I mean, you go through that decade, you go through from First Blood and Rambo 2, Rambo 3. You go to the Terminator, you go to Aliens, you go to Escape from New York, you go to Die Hard, you go to Above the Law, Bloodsport. You know, the films of Chuck Norris like Wolf McQuade, the Missing in Action films, Firewalker. You go to, I mean, it's one of those genres that I'm a sucker for. I grew up with. This is the type of movies I grew up with that I have a soft spot for. And, you know, these were my comic book films. Like, for people today who's into all the Marvel films, and I liked some of them, and all the DC films, these are more my kind of movies. In a weird way, more relatable, because with maybe the proper training, luck, movie magic, you could be one of these guys. You train in fighting, martial arts, or weaponry. Maybe you could be this guy. Like, there's no way you don't be Superman. There's no way you don't be Batman, because Batman's a billionaire. There's no way you don't be any of these guys, but you can be like Lone Wolf McQuade. Although by this point you probably don't want to be, because his daughter's hurt in the hospital. His buddy's been killed. There's Leonidas Kennedy. I was wondering when he was going to come back. And then some guy with a pipe. Stick this in your pipe and smoke it. And this was a lot of stuff in the 80s. The higher ups, the politics, letting the bad guys get away with murder, let them get away with injustice, and you can't trust the politicians, you can't trust authority. Which is why it makes it so weird how nowadays people go so weird that you go and say, I don't trust the politicians, I don't trust authority, I don't trust the higher ups. And nowadays people get mad at you and you gotta be for Biden, Joe Biden. You gotta be for Donald Trump. You gotta be, how about for neither? You can't be that way. Well, really? In the 80s, most of us didn't trust, just like these guys. They didn't trust the authorities. Think about all the action films, Rambo 2, even First Blood. The authorities of the cop beating up Rambo, throwing him in jail even though he didn't deserve it. Rambo First Blood Part 2, Murdoch, Charles Napier's character. I'm telling you to abort, leaving Rambo behind. Mobile Cop, the organization, the higher-ups of OCP and the politics looking down on and working with criminals and looking down on the regular cops trying to do their job. Not all of them are good, but some of them are good. Commando, they weren't evil, but they were ineffective. Like Kirby and all these guys, like they talked to Arnold, but again they were ineffective. They arrived too late. By the time they arrived, Arnold did everything himself. So you had to rely on yourself. You had to rely on you. Steve from New York, a future where you don't trust the president and you don't trust any of the higher authorities. So you're with Snake Plissken. It goes on and on. You know, above the law. You know, Steven Seagal's character, that's why he went above the law. You think you're above the law, but you ain't above mine. Even Bloodsport, Van Damme. You had authorities that were well-intentioned, but they're trying to get Van Damme. Van Damme's like, no, I can't go back now. You guys leave, you, Forrest Whitaker, the other guy, I need to do this. You need to trust me, so avoid the authorities. Get him to a wild goose chase where they fall in the water so he can go into the Kumite. I mean, it just many times where you don't trust the authority figures because you know that the best bet is yourself. At the end of the day. Now this, I would say, is the saddest part of the movie for me. Because I like this dog, or this wolf. That motherfucker should die just for that. But I don't know if we ever see this guy die. He deserves it, though. He absolutely fucking deserves it. But I mean, what's that phrase? You can't kill animals or kids in a movie? Well, this didn't kill kids, but it killed an animal in the movie. You're just making Chuck Norris more and more pissed. You can't do that. I was trying to think of a Chuck Norris fact, but I couldn't think of one. Which is sad because I remember reading a bunch of them years and years ago, but now I can't remember them. I'd have to like look it up. I don't know, maybe I will look it up a little bit. Yeah, but that's sad, you know. I mean, kill the guy's fucking dog. I mean, wolf, I should say. Probably technically it's a dog, but half-breed, but you know, it's a wolf. For the sake of honesty, you know, you kill his wolf. I do find it funny, he gets more emotional when his wolf dies than when his buddy L2 Jones died. Just look bad, like look at his reaction to L2 Jones dying, like when he finds out. Here it actually slams the ground, punches the ground, so again, he showed more emotion for this guy dying. I mean, this wolf dying. Although, to be honest, I don't blame him. Because I did the same thing, so can I really blame him? Yeah, at this point, it's like, yeah, you need to get the fuck out of there. You need to get the fuck out of there, you need to go fuck home. And say goodbye. Just 1 second, I actually answer some messages. Sorry about that. I didn't even notice I had messages. Dana Kimmel, like Dana Kimmel does okay in the movie. I'm not, like, she was one of my least favorite stars in the Friday the 13th films. And sorry I have to answer these. Okay. Don't pin the fucking app. God, I hate these fucking phones. Like, so hard to fucking type on them. Yeah, so far he hasn't used that shotgun. See, I don't know if he ever uses the... Maybe at the end he does. Maybe at the finale he does. Oh, here's Leon Isaac Kennedy. He tried to throw that sack away, didn't quite make it. I didn't like Leonid's Candy. It's nice to see him in it. It's just he doesn't have a lot to do in the film. He does a little bit in the third act. That's sort of the point. I mean, how far are we into the film? Hour and 10 minutes, pretty much. Hour and 9 minutes. Yeah, pretty much an hour and 10 minutes. So if you take away the end credits, we have like half an hour left. Get some aerial helicopter shots. Chuck Norris gonna stare with his eyes because he don't need binoculars. It's Chuck Norris. Fuck binoculars. Chuck Norris can jump out of the plane without a parachute and still live. See, now he's using the binoculars just to make Leon Tandy not feel bad. So yeah, fine, I'll use these, but truthfully, there's nothing in the binoculars. It's just, you know, no glass, nothing. You wanna know why? Because Chuck Norris doesn't read books. He stares them down until he gets the information he wants. You wanna know why this guy's getting steered? Because time waits for no man unless that man's Chuck Norris. And then we got the Dodge vehicle coming our way. Definitely getting through the terrain. See, those rocks are getting out of the way, Chuck Norris. You wanna know why? Because when God said, "Let there be light," Chuck Norris said, "Say please." See, the truck is able to go down this hill and is doing it quietly on its own. You wanna know why? Because Chuck Norris appeared in the Street Fighter 2 video game but was removed by beta testers because every button caused him to do a roundhouse kick. When asked about this glitch, Chuck Norris replied, "That's no glitch." See, the reason he's driving slow is because the ground is too scared, and Chuck Norris is trying to soothe it. Like, the earth is too scared. So it's not doing anything. Just allowing them to pass. And you wanna know why these rocks are not stopping the truck? Because Chuck Norris did not sleep. He waits. You wanna know why Chuck Norris' truck wasn't stopped? It was the other guy's truck. Because Chuck Norris drinks napalm to fight his heartburn. And you wanna know why Chuck Norris is able to do this? And push this truck out of being stuck? Because Chuck Norris can dribble a bowling ball. Because Chuck Norris is a guy who can speak Braille, and he's a guy who counted to infinity twice. See, secretly all these people on this campground is scared of Chuck Norris because Chuck Norris makes onions cry. And he once punched a man in the soul. And he can drown a fish. Because the quickest way to a man's heart is with Chuck Norris's fist. See, this shotgun did not always have the end cut off. The end just fell off because he was too scared of Chuck Norris. Did you know that Chuck Norris can start a fire with an ice cube? That Chuck Norris's cowboy boots are made from real cowboys? Did you know that Freddy Krueger has nightmares about Chuck Norris? Or Superman wears Chuck Norris underoos? Did you know that Chuck Norris, the reason he doesn't shave is because his beard is scared to grow? Chuck Norris invented airplanes because he was tired of being the only person that could fly. Chuck Norris doesn't breathe, he holds air hostage. He could beat the sun in a staring contest. He could sneeze with his eyes open. Ah, this fucking idiot. And this guy gets killed for being an idiot, as he deserves. There you go. Yeah, kill that stupid fuck. Fucked everything up. Great, now everybody's wounded. They're outmatched, outgunned. And because this one guy's a fucking moron and fucked everything up. Damn, even one-handed, like, hits one guy, throws one guy down. You wanna know why he's able to do that? Because he's the type of guy that can watch 60 minutes. He can watch 60 minutes in only 20 minutes. He once kicked a horse in the chin. Its descendants are now known as giraffes. He can divide by 0. Chuck Norris is the only man to defeat a brick wall in a game of tennis. The Great Wall of China was originally created to keep Chuck Norris out, but it didn't work. Yeah, Chuck Norris will survive David Carradine's Kung Fu. You wanna know why? Because Chuck Norris could tie his shoes with his feet. And when he enters a room, he doesn't turn the lights on, he turns the dark off. See, Chuck Norris will be fine, because he's the type of guy that can build a snowman out of rain. When Chuck Norris writes paper, when he writes, he makes paper bleed. Death once had a near Chuck Norris experience. Chuck Norris can kill 2 birds. He can kill 2 stones with 1 bird. Chuck Norris once shot an enemy plane down with his finger by yelling, "Bang." Fuck you know. I like to know who started this whole Chuck Norris fat thing. I do wonder how that all started. Yeah, that's a hilarious. I mean, like, again, that would be an interesting story. Like, how was Chuck Norris fats actually created? Who started it? The phenomenon on it? Chuck Norris himself even, he was on the Best Damn Sports Show, period, I think. It was a show that a bunch of people, including Tom Arnold, hosted, and Chuck Norris was on there, and he was reading facts on the show. But again, that'd be really cool to hear, like, how did it all start? Who started it? Who thought of it? Of course, now, people would just randomly take credit for it. So maybe that story can never truly be told. But maybe like how people first heard about it. I mean, there must be some kind of start to it. Of course, I don't know how you can figure it out, honestly. I love Mellow Yellow. Try to get that when I can online because they don't have it at the store. But I do drink Cold Red Mountain Dew. It's really the one Mountain Dew I do like. Which is weird because it looks like I'm drinking blood. Robert Beltran, freeze assholes! Shoots the shit out of them. But, you know, Chuck Norris is the type of guy that he wakes up from beer. So badass. Fuck being buried alive. I'm gonna drive this sumbitch out of it. Like a battle of hell. Keep going until you're gone. There you go. Oh, that's the use of the shotgun. There you go. Give me a beer, kid. You know, you could have checked his pulse too, but... Again, that's the thing. Like, I like Leon Isaac Kennedy, but he doesn't really have much development in this movie. I'm not saying you need... People misconstrue when I say development. I'm not... There is a big difference between, oh, this Academy Award worthy development of character and Bupkis. There is a big range in between. I think it would have been nice to develop, like, maybe 25 minutes in. You see a little bit of Leon Isaac Kennedy, or... Yeah, not all... Kiss that fucker down. Again, it's like there's more emotion that he lost his wolf dog than losing his buddy LQ Jones. Because you saw that bit where you looked down and the empty dishes, you know, empty bowls for his pet. There you go. Like, I wonder if there'd be like a revenge film, like some vile piece of shit people. They take like a cute kitten. I guess they did with John Wick, but with the dog. Now that I think about it. You know, they kill his puppy, he wants revenge. And yes, there's more to it than that, but I'm just saying. But, oh, here where David Kimmel's been kidnapped, and here's more of this bad guy. I guess they needed someone to be the in-between between him and David Carradine. But again, like, I would have preferred more build-up of Leon Isaac Kennedy than this guy. Like, it could have just been like, here's a letter. David Carradine left a letter. Or, well, he wouldn't leave a letter. That wouldn't make sense, but... Leonized Kennedy, like, hey, I work for FBI. People kept tabs on the plane. They know this is where they went or something. Again, I just don't think you really needed this little guy in a wheelchair. Again, I think with all this time spent with this guy, you could have developed Leon Isaac Kennedy's character more. That's what I'm saying. You didn't really have a montage either, which is a shame. Like a montage of him healing, getting better. I mean, he shot and he felt pain. That's as long as it went, though. No, but sadly, like, no training montages or anything. But you know, not that kind of movie. But I know the director had said an inspiration of his was Sergio Leone. You do definitely hear that with the music. I'll say that. I would say with the music and the final fight, the up close for each person back and forth seemed like a Sergio Leone thing. Well, what do you expect? He's called Lone Wolf McQuade. Lone. So what do you expect, Robert Beltran? He's going to try to want to do it by himself. These little ponies. Get out of the fucking way with these ponies. All these fucking tires all around. How fucking dirty this guy is. People always want money. Bring these people a bar of soap or something. Fuck. Stop putting fucking flowers on my fucking truck. Damn. I need to fucking drive still. All these fucking flowers on my truck. Stop putting flowers on my truck. I need to still drive this shit. I was just trying to get some gas. Take all this shit off. Leon Isaac Kennedy happens to be there. At least that's a nice bit of continuity that he's still feeling a bit of pain from, you know, being shot on the side. You'd be surprised how many movies would ignore that. So it's nice that's a little bit continuity. Like, you know, he is, you know, still hurting from that. There's still pain from that. Yeah, but I quite like Robert Beltran. He's a good sidekick support for Chuck. And yeah, despite what I said before, I liked a lot. Leon Isaac Kennedy, I like him in the film. I just, that's why though. I like him. I wish more was done with him beforehand. Because it does almost seem like, well, why is this character even in the movie when there's not much done with him? But, yeah, again, it's still nice to see. I like the way Chuck Norris looks in the film. Like, I like his outfit. Like, you see it on here a little bit. But I like the whole look of the bandana and the vest and just a really cool look for him. I mean, I like that vest look, and the bandana all works well for his character. It's a memorable look, kind of like old school WWF wrestler. Where it's not just what talent you have in the ring, but the look helps as well. Make you stand out from the crowd. Speaking of wrestling, now you got his wolf pack. The lone wolf now has a wolf pack. I think that was in the trailer as well. You get some arrows in there, silent but deadly. Oh yeah, he does have a shotgun here. Okay, so you do have some shotgun eventually, I'm sure. But I think this film did decently at the box office. Again, led to being with Canon Films with, they gave Chuck Norris a big deal, and then for a good chunk of the 80s, they would use either Chuck Norris or Charles Bronson. In fact, Canon Films, I think they said, we have two piles. This is for Chuck Norris, this is for Charles Bronson. The two Chucks. Chuck Bronson, Chuck Norris. Then eventually they got like Michael Dudikoff and such. Which they wanted Chuck Norris for American Ninja, but when he heard the title, he's like, well, I don't want my face to be covered. Of course, if you watch the film, Michael Dudikoff's face is not covered for much of the movie. Most of the movie, you see Michael Dudikoff's face, but it's just some bits at the end. There's some shotgun. Got some bazooka fun. You got bazookas, you got shotguns. I don't know if he reloaded that bazooka or grenade launcher. Or maybe it's a shoulder-mounted grenade launcher. Maybe it's a bazooka, whatever you call it. It's like, did he reload? Did he just have a bunch of rockets in his bag there? Like, I do wonder, how the fuck do you reload those things? But see, I'm a sucker for this. It's fun, it's entertaining, it's done old school. There's no CGI that take you out of the movie. Goes by quick. You got great music that keeps the rhythm going for the beat of the action. Robert Beltran is a lot of fun. Yeah, I never forget an asshole. Leonardo Kane gets at least something to do. Throw a couple grenades, blow up some shit. I think that's really most of what he does. Well, he shot some arrows earlier. He shot the arrows with the crossbow. But it's funny, like, now you got like a fucking construction vehicle. Use it to block the bullets. What do you do? Just shot on the same side again? Did Leonardo Kennedy shot in the same spot? So we had the mano a mano with the vehicles, then mano a mano with fisticuffs in a bit. There you go. Yeah, you stop right there, fellas. Let them do their business. Caterpillar, that's what it is. Caterpillar. See, now I'm just watching. Sorry about that. But yeah, the 80s, that time where you have this old school... See, if you do a movie like this, it'd probably be... Doesn't deserve it, go straight to VOD. See, that's what I mean. Like, they give this character personality. Like, he forgot to pull the fucking pin on the grenade. Damn, I never forgot something. And see, that's what I mean. Like, that character, like Robert Beltran, they do a good job on that character. He's a new guy at the very beginning. He's learning more and more. He doesn't know everything. Little stuff like that. He forgot to pull the pin, but he still does quite a bit of stuff. Very worthwhile accessory for McQuade. I do like Leon Isaac Kennedy. It's nice to see him in there, but he doesn't do a whole lot. Like, he shoots a couple arrows, which obviously Chuck Norris could have done that, and then he throws a couple grenades, and that's pretty much it for Leon Isaac Kennedy. So I get it. Just, you could easily argue you could write him out of the movie. It would not really change anything. Again, anything he does, like Robert Beltran could have found out, or or even them maybe overhearing R.G. Armstrong and those guys talking or something. We get the mono-a-mono fight. In a weird way, this is kind of like Chuck Norris. Like, this is what you did to Bruce Lee. You took away his show. I'm going to avenge him. See, this is a little bit of the Sergio Leone. Like, you have the close-ups of the face, back and forth. Instead of guns, though, it's fisticuffs with the face going back and forth. There you go. I mean, the fight is fun. I think mainly because the way it's staged. I think the music helps a lot. And, you know, it's directed pretty decent because you get some nice alternate angle shots. You get some wide shots like here where you could tell what they're doing, and there is a back and forth. It's not too one-sided one way or another. They're each getting their hits in. Like, there's David Carradine. Here's a little bit of Chuck Norris now. Oh, this is when you really piss him off. There you go. Nice kick there. There you go. Now we get the beat down. If you hate your villain, you want your villain to suffer. And that's what happened. That was a good point. A lot of these movies make the villain suffer. Punch there. Punch his gut. Right cross. Nice another punch. Roundhouse kick. Yeah, get the fuck back up. Turn that around. Another nice kick. Pretty decent beat down there, yeah. Nice, there you go. Nicely done. I thought this was an interesting little detail too, where you look at David Carradine's face and that he actually did care about the barber character. And yeah, I just thought that was a nice little detail that they added in there. that even though he's evil, he did care about this barber character, and it just brings a little bit extra ingredient to the whole sequence. But that's what happens with some of these action films. Like, the hero loses a lot of people he knows. Like in this, he lost his buddy, L2 Jones. He lost his wolf, his pet. Now this girl. And that way the stakes are raised. There's danger. Keeps the danger afloat. And makes you want more comeuppance on the villain. Boom. Now, I don't know if this is true, but it says in the trivia on IMDb that David Carradine did not want to die hand to hand. That's why they went with the grenade idea. I don't know if that's true. If so, the grenade is fine, but it would have been nice to have like a, you know, if not bare hands, but like to shoot him or shoot him with a shotgun or something. Really give it a big exclamation point. But I mean, on the flip side, you did a nice explosion there. This is the guy that always got beat up by Chuck. Again, this guy again, like, why did you land the helicopter in the first place? Like, you could see them there. What do you expect? You have three guys with guns. You're in a wheelchair. Did you not think they're going to steal your fucking helicopter? Like, what do you expect? Is that why you brought, like, 10 people with guns? It's you and some guy who had no gun, who you saw Chuck beat up more than once. Like, what the fuck did you expect? Like, this guy's an idiot. A fucking moron. I'm going to land and get out of a helicopter from my fucking wheelchair. And there's three guys with guns who don't like me, and I don't think he'll just leave my ass here. Who do I have as backup? Oh, a helicopter pilot and some guy who Chuck beat up like 2-3 times before. Just, what an idiot. Of course, R.G. Armstrong taking the credit when he didn't do jack shit. No comeuppance. And I mean, they went on to do Walker Texas Ranger, but I'm kind of surprised there was no sequel to this. Because this is 83. I'm surprised in like 87 or so there wasn't a sequel to Lone Wolf. Well, I guess I'm not surprised. Because he had to deal with Canon Films. So, he had to deal with Canon Films. He was just making a ton of movies for them. That's why. I mean, all those films I mentioned, like Missing Action Films, that's 3 of them there. Delta Force, Invasion USA, Firewalker, The Terror, Canon. So, that's why. And then, by the early 90s, Orion was pretty much dead. And I'm guessing he probably wanted to do a sequel. Oh, I can't. Well, I'll do this TV show. I do like this lady's last line. Like, because it doesn't make her bitchy. She's like, yeah, she understands. And I always like the way these credits, the way they did these credits as well. Because we'll see in a bit, but well, not all the time. When they did it in Rambo 5, which I thought was awkward. But usually I like when they do this, where they show pictures from the movie, and then they'll show, like, this person, name, this person, name, this person, name. I mean, I don't know the last time someone did that. Well, I guess they're not really doing it here. They're just showing pictures and then a set of names. So I guess they're not doing it exactly like that. William Sanderson, that was the guy I was thinking of with the glasses. William Sanderson. William Sanderson, he was the guy in Blade Runner who Daryl Hannah seduced, however you want to put it, and then got her and Rutger Hauer got him to take them where they needed to go. Kane Hodder. Kane Hodder was one of the stunt people. I didn't notice. Kane Hodder, who was Jason Voorhees in Friday the 13th Part 7 and 8, and Jason Goes to Hell. But yeah, William Sanderson, he was on the TV show Newhart. He was the guy who's with the two other guys, and he had the line, "This is my brother Daryl, and this is my other brother Daryl." Like that, William Sanderson is a character actor you've seen in other movies. I knew I recognized him. But I think also, like, the credits, you listen to the music, and the credits are not long. Like, usually credits goes on for like 10 minutes nowadays, but not back then, especially for a film like this, I guess. Plus, this is definitely a Ennio Morricone type of score that they had Francesco De Masi do. So we can't get Ennio Morricone, so get this guy. He did a good job. Fun movie. I would not say it's in my top 5 Chuck Norris films. I would like to have seen a bit more David Carradine. The fight with him and Chuck Norris is fine, but David Carradine's just not the best when it comes to physical fights. There's other people, but again, I don't know who at that time he could have done it with. But I like him more as an actor than a martial artist, if that makes sense with David Carradine. And again, Leonidas Attendee I like, but they didn't really do much with him. But Chuck Norris did a good job. I like Robert Beltran is fun. The score is excellent. The fight scenes, the action scenes, especially the finale, are entertaining. Old school. Went by a pretty decent pace. Didn't feel too long at all. And overall, fun Chuck Norris movie. Definitely would be in my top 10 Chuck Norris films. So, with that said, thanks for watching. We'll see you guys later.